Well, hi, I'm Melissa. I'm so glad to be here. I have actually been really looking forward to this all day. Don't ruin it for me. Laugh when you're supposed to laugh, okay? I've been looking forward to this all day, and I just have been doing a lot of things in my career right now that are a little bit out of my element. And being here with y'all tonight is very much in my element. It's like what I like to do. And so it didn't feel like, oh, I got to pack my bags and go to a hotel. It felt like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I get to pack my bags and go to a hotel and be with all these women. And so I've really been looking forward to it. And my husband and I just had the sweetest time of worship in the car before we got here. And he just lets me crank it up and just sing at the top of my lungs. And so I'm a little hoarse because that was really singing. But it's just been such a nice day. And right before I came out, I made the horrific mistake of Instagramming and asking the public, which are horrible, by the way, if I should roll my pants up or tuck them into my shoes. And one of my friends here, whom I never met, asked that I just not wear pants at all. Who was that? Where is she? Oh, you're proud of it. Look what you're waving and everything. So I made this mistake of asking people, right? And so women started, like by the hundreds, letting me know. And why is it that you will have 99 say, roll your pants up? 99, roll your pants up. 99, roll your pants up. Like 3, like, no, just tuck them into your shoes. But it's that one that says, why are you wearing those shoes with that shirt? You know what, Jennifer from Tampa? Here's the reason why. Because I am in a contest with my girlfriends, and we are counting our steps, which I don't know if you have ever done. I've never done it, ever. But apparently, you can do it on your phone and on your watch. I did not know that. So I'm doing it. So I'm wearing these, and I plan on walking back and forth as many times as I possibly can. And I ran into one of my girlfriends, and she's like, don't do that tonight at that church. Don't be like, God, just trying to get extra credit. So that's why, Jen from Tampa 247, that's why I wore these shoes. Okay, let's get started, because I don't have long, because I got a hotel tonight. All right, I'm kidding, David. All right, don't get excited. This mama's going to bed early, and you know it. All right. So here's the deal. I love Jesus, but I'm a little salty. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay? I know. Is your pastor's wife here? Because she just died. Like, she just literally is like, hi, yeah. Okay. I'm kidding. It's going to be great. Question for you. Stand up if you are turning 40 this year. Anybody turning 40? Stand up and be proud. That's awesome. Oh, my gosh. All right. You can sit down. I was afraid y'all couldn't hear me because you're turning 40. So I'm like, you can sit down. 40 is a big deal. It's fun. Relish it. All your friends are going to come out for it. It's going to be a good time. 41 is when you're going to want to dig a hole in your backyard and put yourself in it. Okay? And if you have bought my book, then you know the story that I want to tell you tonight. But if you haven't, we are going to talk about the year that I turned 41, or as I like to say, the year that changed everything for me. 41 was the year that changed my life. So enjoy 40. Have a party. But call me when you turn 41. Now, here's another question. Like, we're going to get our steps in tonight. Not really, but okay, I want everyone in the room to stand up. Everybody, stand up where you are. Now, I want you to sit down if you were not a cheerleader. Yeah, I wanted to see who y'all were. Oh, yeah. I knew it was you, Blondie. I had you pegged. I see spirit fingers over here. I bet you could touch your toes right now if I asked you, couldn't you? You could. You know you could. Okay, so here's the deal. Cheerleaders, listen to me. Y'all are my favorite humans on the planet. I love you. I don't know how you turn your body in all those different ways, but you amaze me every single day. And I will be honest with you guys. I'm going to pick on y'all a little bit, but it's all in good fun. If I could be you, I would totally be you, okay? And I have had so many cheerleaders stop me after I've spoken somewhere and been like, you know, it wasn't all it's cracked up to be. I hear you. I hear you. We're going to talk about that too. But just so you know, I'm going to make fun of you. I'm probably going to make fun of you a little bit. You're kind of cute. I'm going to make fun of you. And I'm just going to, okay, so we're just going to have fun with it. Don't hate me. You can sit down. Now I should have asked, stand up if you ever wanted to be a cheerleader and weren't, because y'all are my peeps. So this is the deal. Like I wanted to, I don't know why. I think it was because I had a cousin who was a cheerleader. She was about 7 or 8 years older than me, and I just thought she was the most beautiful thing, and like she could tan so well with her baby oil and iodine. And she was so awesome. And like sun-in, when she sprayed it in her hair, it actually worked. And I just loved her, and she was a cheerleader. And I just wanted to be like her. And then I just started, I watched like everything I could about cheerleaders and, the NCAA tournament on television. Like I would be like, Dad, press record on the VCR. And I'll be like, you recorded over it, Dad. I was a child of the 80s. And I just wanted to be a cheerleader so bad. So I can remember telling my parents, my mother specifically, that I wanted to try out for cheerleader. And you have to know that my parents are they're from a little bit of a different school of thought than a lot of parents today, okay? So today, So today, like we have, those first couple of episodes of American Idol? What are those parents doing? Okay? Because Annette Lee would never have had that, ever. Annette would have said, you are not going to play the guitar. Absolutely not. You're horrible. So my mom can't even watch those first few episodes of American Idol. She's like, where are these parents at? Did nobody love William Hung? So that's the school of thought my parents are from. And so when I told them that I was trying out for cheerleader, this is exactly what they did. My dad went like this. Oh, babe. And my mother went, no, you're not. And I said, no, I'm really going to. I've talked to some of my girlfriends, and they love my legs. They said that that's muscle. And so I'm for sure going to do it. And my mother's like, no, you're not. And I said, Mom, why would you say that? And she said, baby, listen to me. You have absolutely no rhythm. You cannot dance and keep a beat to save your life, okay? You can't turn a cartwheel. Okay, you did one in my living room. You broke my ottoman. You owe me $60. But the most important thing, and it's required, Melissa Page, is that when you jump, you do not even get off the ground. And I just looked at my dad like, Dad? And he was like, But I did it. And I did not make it the first time. Or the second time. And I also did not make it the third time. But I tried out, so I was persistent, so I've got that going for me. 3 times. Oh, really? That is the saddest hand clap I have ever gotten. Okay, how about instead of hand clapping that, y'all just all give me spirit fingers right now. Just like, oh, actually, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, 3 times I tried out, and 3 times I failed, okay? But I wanted to be a cheerleader so bad. I graduated from high school. It just never really panned out for me there at school. I was what you would call a lovable loser, okay? I was a lot of fun. I was every guy's best friend, right? I never went to a prom. My daughter had her 6th grade dance a couple of weeks ago, and I said, now, Remy, here's what I want you to know about your 6th grade dance. And she really, I promise you, she did not say this disrespectful, but she looked at me as sweet as she could, and she went, I said, here's some things I want you to know before you go to the dance. And she went, how did you get this information? Who who told you this stuff because I don't think you went. You wrote a whole book about it. I'm like, I know, but people talk, so. But I was just, high school was kind of difficult for me, and I wasn't, as Oprah said about living your best life, I didn't really live it there. I did not live my best life there. Oh, fun fact, guess where they also have cheerleaders? In college. They also have them there. Yeah. So if you can't outrun them in high school, you can. I'll tell you what's awesome. It's one thing to sit by a cheerleader in sophomore English. It's another thing entirely to share a bathroom, a communal bathroom with them. No offense to you. But we had to share in our dorm, we had that communal bathroom because this was like the early 90s, and so that's what you did. And so we had this bathroom, and I would go into here's the deal. The cheerleaders would like get out of the shower, and they would wrap that JCPenney towel around them like twice, and I could barely get that beach towel that my dad bought at Destin that said, "I've got crabs." And they would be like, Melissa, you're so funny. It was about that time that I made some great friends in college, don't get me wrong, and I met this one particular guy we decided that we were going to fix each other up. He was going to fix me up with some of his friends. I was going to fix him up with my friends. I'm still waiting for him to fix me up. It never panned out. But I did fix him up, and I fixed him up with not only a cheerleader on my hall, but the captain. So she was like top of the pyramid, okay? I fixed him up with the captain, and her name was Shanae. That actually was not her name. It's what I called her behind her back, and she hated it. So her name was Shanae, and I fixed them up, and they started going out. Now, here was the deal. Also, just side note, Shanae lives somewhere in Texas. Eventually, she's going to be at one of these meetings. Is she here? Let's just get it out of the way. Okay, I ask every time, and every time she's not here, and every time I have to say a quick thank you to Jesus because... All right, okay, I'm back. I'm so nervous the day she stands up, and she's like, oh, I'm here. I'm right here. So I fixed him up with Shanae, and they started going out, and they had a great time together. But I really enjoyed being with him, and he was a really cool guy. We had a lot of fun together. And here was the deal. So Shanae lived about 2 hours away from campus. And so sometimes on the weekends, she would go home and see her parents. And when she would, he and I would hang out. Completely platonic, but we would just hang out because Lord knows I didn't have a lot going on. And I was always broke, and he always paid. And I thought that was really cool. And so I actually looked forward to the weekends when she would go out of town because he was close, very, very quickly becoming one of my very best friends. So we had a really great time together. And there was one particular weekend that he said, she's going home to visit her parents. It was close to Christmas. He said, let's go to the Galleria. Let's go Christmas shopping. And I was like, yes! So Friday afternoon, my last class, I headed back over to my room to put on my mall walking shoes because I was very sexy even then. And I walked in my room, and I did not lock my door because it was like 1992, and so who did that? So I didn't lock my door, and when I walked in, the entire cheerleading squad was sitting in my dorm room waiting on me, and there in the middle was Shanae. And I said, oh, hello, may I help you? And they're like, Melissa, we need to talk to you. It was so serious in that moment that I really, truly thought to myself, they need me. Oh my God, this is happening. This is happening right. I was, seriously, hold on one second. I thought, this is it. This is happening. Oh, my number is being called up. And I was there for it. I'm telling you guys, I was ready. And Shalane, that's her real name. Facebooking. Do I have a Shalane? Okay. Oh, help me, Lord. Okay. Anywho, y'all could stop laughing so much. Anyway, she said, I looked at her and I said, what are you doing here? I thought you were going out of town. And she said, no, at the last minute I changed my mind. And I said, oh, okay, well, does he know? And she said, yeah, I told him. But he said he had already made plans with you. And I said, oh, well, that's not a big deal. We're literally just going to the mall. And I said, just go. I don't care. And she said, no. He really just cares for you so much. It's like you're a little brother to him. And I just know that when I'm gone and he is really, really bored, that he likes to hang out with you. Thank you. And I said, okay. And she said, so I want you to go. I do. I want you to go. But I need you to do me a little bitty favor. I said, okay, what? Now, girls that are younger than me, which is 98% of this room, back in the day, we had something called the Sony Walkman, okay? And it could play and record, and you could fast forward and rewind it, and you could make a mixtape on it, okay? So it was better than everything. And she said, I want you to record him talking about me. I know. And I said, what, how? And she said, I want you to take this recorder, and I want you to stick it in the top of your fake Dooney and Burke purse, and I want you to zip it halfway up, Melissa, and I want you to hit record, and then I want you to bring my name up, and I want you to see what he says, okay? And I said, okay, because I loved a good caper. So I did it. They called me downstairs. He had come to get me. They called me downstairs, and as I was walking out, I hit record, and you would hear. We get in this car. We are headed into town, and I bring her name up. And this is what he says. Have you seen her car? I said, I guess. Why? And he said, it is awesome. And she lets me drive it all the time. And the thing is like the hottest car on the whole campus. And she doesn't care if I drive it. And sometimes, like, even when she goes home to see her folks, like, she leaves it with me. And that thing will go from, like, 0 to 80 in, like, 4 seconds. It's crazy, Melissa. I'm not kidding. It's awesome. And really, honest, that's really the only reason I'm dating her is because her car is so hot. Now, we used to always go to this place. He would take me to have dinner at this place. We loved it. Called Checkers. Have y'all ever heard of Checkers? Okay, it's awesome. Don't ever look at their food. Just eat it. Never, ever look down. We would go to Checkers, but on this particular night, he pulled into this other restaurant, and I want to say it, but I don't want y'all to, like, close me off, because I feel like y'all are going to be intimidated by me for the rest of the night, and I don't want you to be, because I'm just like y'all. But he took me to this place called Macaroni Grill. So please, don't let that stand between us, okay? So he took me to this place called Macaroni Grill, which in 1992 was like 5-star, okay? They could write their names upside down on the table. Don't be intimidated. So he took me here, and we were sitting there, and I was just like in hog heaven. And so I was like, what is the deal? You know, this is crazy. And they came over and they brought the bread. Oh, have y'all had that? Oh my gosh, it was so great. This was the most wonderful thing. And here sits my purse right on top of the table like a class act, right? So got it right there. You know, you can hear it recording the whole time. He has no idea. And I'm just eating this bread like there's no tomorrow. And he says, Melissa, I got to tell you something. I was like, okay. And he said, here's the deal. When I go to bed at night, you're the very last person that I think of. And when I wake up in the mornings, you're the first person on my mind. And I've noticed if anything like funny happens, I want to call you. And if anything sad happens, you know, I want to tell you. And you're my best friend. I was like, oh my gosh, you are still my best friend too. I was like, I totally get it. I totally get that. And he said, right. But I think you're kind of like more than a best friend. I mean, I think I'm in love with you. And I was hoping that maybe tonight could be like our first date. And I said these words, could you hold on for 1 second? And I picked up my purse and I walked off to go to the restroom. And I stopped and I thought to myself, are you kidding me right now, Melissa? Are you kidding me, Melissa Lee? You know exactly what to do. And I walked back over to that table and I said, are you going to eat this bread? No? Okay, then I'm going to take it. And then I walked to the bathroom and I ate every bit of it because I'm going to tell you what, they're lying to you if they tell you carbs are not our friends. Yes, they are. And I ate that bread and then I picked up that Sony Walkman and I said, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to cut this off now. And I cut it off, put it back in my purse. And I really, truly do not remember what happened the rest of the night. I was on cloud 9. I was about to pass out. Someone held my hand for the very first time and asked permission to do it. We got back to the campus. I walked back up to my room. I opened up the door, and there sat the entire cheerleading squad. But this time it was a little bit different because this time at the end of the row was my best girlfriend, Casey. Now, Casey was a little bit, how do I say this? Casey was a little bit fluffy, like I am. Casey was a little fluffier. So she was at the end of the row of cheerleaders. She was not a cheerleader. But when I scanned the room and I got to Casey, this is what she did. Shanae said, do you have the tape? I said, I do. Greetings to all of you. How was your evening? Everybody, you know what? Let's start over here. How was yours? She said, no, Melissa, put the tape in. I said, got it. You want to hear the tape. Okay. But before I do, Casey, could I see you out in the hallway for just a moment, please? Casey got up. She walked out to the hallway with me. We stood there for a second, and I told her the situation. And she said, so he said all these things? I said, yes. And she said, and now you're going to play the tape? And I said, that's what I'm saying to you. I don't know. And she said, no, I'm saying you're going to play that tape. You're going to play that tape for every girl that never made the cheerleading squad. And you're going to play that tape for every girl that never got to go to prom. I said, oh my gosh, Casey, did you never get invited to prom? She said, no, I went. You didn't go. I was like, that's right. That's right. Oh, I'm playing the tape. And I walked back in. And I put the tape in, and I hit play. I've asked forgiveness for it, okay? To God, not her. A few minutes later, after the tape was over, they all stood up together at one time. And then they turned their bodies like this. And they walked out in the most beautiful formation honestly, I'm not kidding you, that you have ever seen. It was so beautiful and so perfect that I literally turned and walked out with them. And Casey was like, nope, you're not one of them. You're never, ever going to be. I could hear down the hall her screaming at him, screaming. About 10 minutes later, this is what I heard on my hall. Melissa, you have a guest in the lobby. Melissa, you have a guest in the lobby. I went down and there he stood, and this is what he said. Get the tape. I went up to my room. I got the tape. I came back downstairs. We walked out to his car. He got in the front seat. I got in the other. I said, normally you open the door for me. He's like, get in the car. He took the tape and he placed it up against the wheel, driver's side front wheel. And then he backed over it. And then he went forward. And then he backed over it. And then he went forward. And then he backed over it again. And then he went forward just one last time to be sure. And then, y'all, we made out. I'm not lying. And I had never done that before. And we made out so good that I called my mother and told her everything. Because I'd never gotten to. And she said, "This is very disturbing for me. Please don't call me again about this." But before she hung up, she said, "But I'm also really proud of you. Goodbye." Why do I tell you that story? I tell you that story because that is the story of how sometimes the good girl gets the guy. Because I've been married to him for 24 years. I have been married to that man for 24 years, and 17 of them have been good. I'm not going to lie. After David and I got married, we moved to Nashville, Tennessee so that we could graduate from Belmont University. We wanted to be in the music business. Singing is really what I had done my whole entire life. In fact, we met at a Bible college, and that's where all of this happened. And I never realized how ludicrous that sounds until now. But we went to a Bible college, and I was studying. I was going to be a worship pastor. That wasn't necessarily what I thought I would end up doing. I didn't know what I would end up doing, but I knew it would be my voice because that's what I had always been told I would do. I sang, right? So everybody told me what I would do, and I said, okay. And then we left Dallas, and we moved to Belmont, and Nashville was not easy for me. Nashville was a little bit cruel to me. Because kind of like the cheerleading squad in high school, and kind of like that night in my dorm room, see, Nashville, they want you to tap into a formation that some of us just don't fit into. They are fine if you sound a certain way. They're not so happy if you don't look a certain way. And I knew that I had the vocal chops to compete, but I really did not have the body to compete. And Nashville told me that for many, many years, over and over and over again. And I really did feel in Nashville a lot like the girl back in high school. I got a lot of friends. I'm a lot of fun, but nobody's picking me for their team again. Does anybody know what that feels like? Because really that's what the world wants. The world wants ladies that can line up and be in formation and look just like all of the other ones. And what happens when we can't? What happens when we don't look the same? What happens when we don't dream the same way and we don't want the same things? What happens when we don't want to get married and have children? We want to go to the mission field. And people think that's crazy and absurd because you should stay here and work at a bank or be a kindergarten teacher because that's what your mother said you should do. By the way, kindergarten teachers, your crown in heaven is so heavy. You'll never. But what happens when we don't do like everybody else, and we don't want like everybody else, and we don't wear the same size as everybody else? What happens when we dream other things, and we don't sound the same, and we can't get in formation? It was a beautiful place to live. I made a lot of great friends there. But I can remember I was a session singer for many years for Christian and country artists, most that you would know. And I remember on one particular day, I had just finished singing in the studio for a country artist that if I said his name, y'all would be like, what? I mean, he was a really precious guy. But when I walked out from singing, I was the last session singer of the day, and he and his producer was sitting there. They had asked me to cut one last line. And when I walked out, the producer said, "Dang, Mel, it is a shame you can sing like that." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because truthfully, people just don't buy ugly." And I would say that is exactly sums up my years in Nashville. Once again, I just could not get into formation. Does anybody in here feel that way? I have a feeling that some of you do. I have a feeling that right here in this room are women who feel like they have been looked over and uninvited and forgotten about and not chosen. And I'm not, I use my stories about high school. And if you read the book, I use stories about elementary school. And I use those because they're funny and we can say something. They're great stories to use for evidence and tangible examples. But the truth of the matter is, what we become that woman when after 25 years of marriage, he leaves us for another woman. We become that person when, honestly, our child walks out of the door and the last thing that they say to us before they leave is, I hate you. And when we've been broken and passed over and looked over, we become that very thing. I used this example once in a conversation with my friend. And she said, Melissa, use that forever. Use that example forever. And here's what I said. I said, I don't really know any other way to describe it. It's like whatever they said to me, I would just tattoo it on my skin. I would just walk around with it. And she said, well, first of all, you don't even have a tattoo because you're a big chicken. I said, I know. I almost feel like I wouldn't have had room for anything because people just don't buy ugly. It was written down my side. When I tossed my hat in the air at Hudson High School and I graduated when I was 18 years old, you know what I wrote on my skin? Melissa, you are too loud. Melissa, you are too big. Melissa, you are too much. And that's what I kept doing. I just kept adding tattoos to my skin. And I was so sick to death of being ruled by those things, by being, those sayings, what they said to me, it determined my entire life. It determined how I lived and how I loved and what jobs I had. It determined whether I was depressed or not. It determined whether I would bathe that week. It determined everything in my life because I believed them. I remember on one particular occasion, this was about the time that reality music competitions like American Idol and whatever were coming into popularity. And there was one, I'm showing my age right now, that was on VH1, Divas Live. And I went. And it reminds me of this room because it was just full of women. Just women auditioning and trying out. And right in the front were 3 judges. And I never saw them speak or get up or go to the restroom or move the entire time I was there. But I would get up and all of just all of these eyes were staring at you. You had to get up and sing in front of all these women who, let's be honest, just wanted you to fail because they wanted to be it, right? And I remember when I got up to sing, I just thought to myself, I had driven from Nashville to Atlanta, Georgia to make this happen 4 hours in the car with only one hope. Somebody, for the love of God, notice me. Please pick me. Please. I'll wear shiny stuff. I'll do whatever you say. Pick me, pick me. Spirit fingers, spirit fingers. And it was my turn. And I walked to the stage, and so they were sitting like right where you 3 would be, right? And so I walked to the stage. I put the mic on the stand. There was no music or anything. You just had to sing. And I sang, he's leaving on that midnight train to Georgia. Said he's going back to find, a simpler place in time. And I'll be with him on that midnight train to Georgia. I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine. And when I was, thank you. And when I was done, the judge in the very center stood up from where he was sitting, walked to the stage, climbed up the steps and stood beside me, smiled at me, and looked at every woman in the room, and this is what he said. If you want to be on my show, you better sing like this, but you better not look like this. And he walked off. And then he said, next. And I walked off the stage, and I got in my car, and I drove 4 hours home. And I did not call my husband, and I did not turn on the radio, and I did not shed one tear. But I did get home, walk into my room, crawl into bed, and get out of it about 2 weeks later. I was as depressed as you could possibly get because I did not fit. I never fit in anywhere. And the scriptures have so much to say about this. For example, Colossians 2:8. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty conceit. That's one of the scriptures in Colossians 2:8. I did not know that then. I know that now. And I love that scripture because there is no better word than captive for what I was. There is no better word for it. I was in bondage. I just wanted to be chosen. I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to be thin. I just wanted to wear what they were wearing. I just wanted to do what they were doing. I just wanted to fall in line. But instead, I went home, crawled in the bed, and wrote, "Better not look like this," across my neck. And I lived that way. Have any of you lived that way? Have you lived that way? Better not feel like this. Better not do like this. Scripture also says in Jeremiah 2:12 through 13, it says, "Be appalled, for my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and hewed out cisterns for themselves." And these are broken cisterns that can hold no water. And here's what that means. Back in biblical times, cisterns looked like a well. They were dug underneath the ground. And he is saying, so here's what you're doing, Melissa. You are trying to be every single thing you can, and you're broken, and water is pouring out of you. But what I've got over here never runs dry. Do you see the difference, Melissa? Don't you see, honey, that you are searching for meaning in a world that will never, ever give it to you? And I have it right here for the taking, yours for the taking. It will last forever. But you've done this, and you are looking for hope in a hopeless world. Just yesterday, I was walking out to my car after eating lunch with a girlfriend, and we were standing at her car talking, and two girls, I told David, probably about 28, 30, they walked out of the restaurant, two of them, best friends. And one of them said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're Melissa Radke. I'm in love with you." And I said, "Well, thank you very much." And she came over, and I gave her a big old hug, and she said, "My girlfriends and I, we were in a book club, and we were talking about these books that we were going to read. And I just held up your book, and I just said, 'Why are we not talking about this book?' And everybody said, 'Who's that?' And she said, 'You've got to read this book.' She said, 'Melissa, I just loved your book so much.' And I honestly, I never even wanted to be a singer in Nashville. But I said, 'Did you think that my book was about that? Or did you think my book was about broken people?' And she started to cry, and she said, 'Oh, that's why I identify with you. Because we're all just a little bit broken. And we're all a little bit different. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay.' He is saying that you are putting your stock and all of your hope and all of your dreams and all of your desires in something that is broken. And you think, no, it's fine. And you think that until he divorces you. You think that until someone leaves you or overlooks you or forgets you. In so many years of my life, guys, I walked around with tattoos. Words I didn't want to hear, but that I chose to hold on to. I made that decision. And it reminds me of this story. When I was growing up, my parents went shopping one Saturday, and they came home with a lamp. It was the most hideous thing you've ever seen in your life. My dad walked in with his head hanging down. He was embarrassed that he had bought it for her. She thought it was wonderful. We called it the old mermaid Tinkerbell rose lamp because no one knew exactly what it was. It was ceramic, and at the bottom it looked like a fin, a mermaid fin. It then went up until you could see her head and like some conch shells or whatever those are. And then it turned into a flower, and it came around like this. And then you screwed a light bulb in it. And then people thought that you were worshiping the devil. because it looked like a witch's lamp. We don't know. All I know is my mother thought it was fascinating and that she bought it off of a clearance shelf at the local furniture store for like $42. And I was like, Dad, why? And he said, because I love her. I love her. And people would come over to our house just to see the lamp. And we didn't have cell phones back then, so they couldn't take, so they would take with the camera and then be like try to rewind the film, right? And they would be like, Larry, get a picture of me holding the lamp. You know, my mom's friends would come over, and it was just horrible. The lamp was so hideous. Honestly, I had an artist. I'm not kidding you. I had an artist say, let me try and draw the lamp out for you according to your memory. And I've tried, and he's like, are you lying? Are you just punking me right now? I'm not. I've looked all over the internet. We don't have any, I can't find any pictures of it. Probably because someone had to burn them. I don't know. But it was horrible. And it sat in my parents' living room for all of those years. Later, David and I got married. We moved to Nashville. And we had lived in Nashville for about 2 weeks. We had no money. We were trying to furnish an apartment. And one day, a mailman knocked at our door with a big box. David said, don't you dare bring that thing into this house. In the name of Jesus, you leave that outside. And I opened it up, and it was the old Tinkerbell mermaid rose lamp. And then it sat in my living room, because as ugly as it was, it reminded me of my mama. And it reminded me of home. And I sat it in my living room. And then my friends would come over, and they would say, hey, get a picture of me holding this lamp. I'm not kidding you. It was very, very weird. So it stayed downstairs. Eventually, it moved all kind of around the house, and it ended up in an upstairs bedroom because we were building our house. We were building a home. And so I would slowly over time just kind of start to pack things, right? And I would put them, you know how when you're moving, you label everything living room and everything master bedroom. And it's funny because when you would walk into my house in the weeks leading up to her move, everything had a place except for her. The old mermaid Tinkerbell rose lamp. Everything that needed to go in master bedroom was labeled master bedroom, and everything that needed to go in master bath was labeled that, and everything in kitchen. But there she sat because she didn't really fit into any of those places. And later she found herself sitting in a corner with a stack of TV theme song CDs. Because apparently at one point I thought it was important to remember those classics. So I had bought a stack of CDs of TV theme songs. And I can still sing anything you want to this day. Also, a crystal bowl that my aunt had bought us for our wedding, but our cat kept peeing in, so we couldn't ever figure that out. So it stayed there too. And that's what happened. Everything had a place except for these mismatched, misfit toys. And they sat in the corner. And people would come over and they would help us box stuff up. And y'all, every single time people would come over and we would move boxes, she would fall over and pieces of her would break off. And so I would go behind and I would pick up little pieces of her ceramic self and I would put them in a baggie. And I finally, after she had been beaten to death, it seemed like, I said to David, take this thing and also this little baggie full of pieces and go get my lamp fixed. And he said, where in the world am I going to take this lamp? And I said, I don't know, David. Find a place. There are people that do crafts and have glue guns and stuff. Find some of them. And I sat her down and I said, I'm serious, David. It's very important to me. That really means a lot to me. Eventually, it was time to move. Our friends came over and helped us. Movers came over and helped us. There she was getting knocked over and pummeled in this corner because she didn't really belong in any single room. And everything else had a place. But the broken things sat over there, out of the way. We just wanted them out of the way. And so they loaded everything up, and I had to do that one last walkthrough to the condo. I had to do that one last walkthrough to make sure everything was okay. And there the misfit things sat over in the corner. Anybody knows what it feels like? Wave at me if you do. Anybody know what that feels like, to be the thing that's left over in the corner? Because nobody knows where you go. And so I did what people are guilty of doing. I took out a garbage bag. And I put the CDs in it and the crystal bowl that smelled like pea urine, cow urine, and I put the old Mermaid Tinkerbell rose lamp. And I tied up the top and I drug it out to the dumpster, threw it over the dumpster, got in my car and drove away and never went back. Because I couldn't figure out where to put her. A couple of weeks later, we were moved into the house. I was pretty much finished putting boxes away, and the phone rang, and I answered it. And this man said, "Hi, is David Radke there?" I said, "No, he's not here right now. Can I take a message?" And he said, "No, that's okay. Just tell him to give me a call. It's Jim down at Leaper's Fork Antiques." I just wanted him to know that we finally found the piece that we needed to fix the lamp. And I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a really intricate little piece. We had to send off for it, but it's going to be about $1,200. But I said, Jim. Okay, I'll tell him, but that's a lot of money for an instrument." He said, "It is, but honestly, we didn't even in good conscience feel like we could keep the lamp in our shop because it's worth so much. I mean, it's really so rare. At a minimum, Miss Radke, $4,000 at a minimum." Are you okay? He hates this story. Every time I'm like, "Are you okay? Is your blood pressure okay? How are you doing? Look at me. You okay?" He's like, "Money. We could have had it." I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I did to her what they did to you. I'm sorry that I couldn't figure out where she went, so I just threw her out. And that's happened to some of you. It's happened to me. On top of all of that, on top of not being able to fit in, 12 years of infertility, 12 years. 12 years I threw baby showers for everybody but me. 12 years I had loss. I had my body can't do what everybody else's body can do. And I was the lamp in the corner. And I'm sorry that I threw her out. Because that's what the world had done to me, and that's what the world had done to you. And I'm so mad at myself. I'm so mad about it. Because she's such a great object lesson, the old Mermaid Tinkerbell rose lamp. She's such a great object lesson, right? That what is broken and scarred up about us does not make us weak. It makes us different. And different makes us special. And we are unique, not to be tossed out. Because anybody can go to Target and get whatever is 40% off on the end cap because it's super cute and 40% off. But not everybody is the old Mermaid Tinkerbell rose lamp. Honey, you don't look like everybody else. People don't quite know where to put you. But you have a story. And I'm so angry. I'm so angry at myself that I tossed her out. Because the truth of the matter is we do not know how valuable we are until the fixer calls us and says, "I have exactly what you've been looking for." And it's going to surprise you because it's not cheap, but then neither are you. I was so depressed during this time of my life, guys, so depressed. 4 miscarriages, grieving in our marriage, just utter grieving in our marriage. And I have to tell you, I'm going to end with this story right here. I have to tell you that I have an odd quirk about me. I'm deathly afraid of one-on-one conversations. One-on-one terrifies me, okay? As in, yesterday I went to lunch with my girlfriend, and when I got home, my husband said, "It was just you two?" I said, "I'm trying to grow up." But they terrify me. But it was about this time that I signed up for a Bible study that my church was offering on learning your identity in Christ. I'd been raised in the church. My mother was a worship pastor. I went every single time the doors were open. I could tell you every Bible story there was, but I could not have told you one thing God said about me. Not one. What are we doing? Are we telling our daughters this? Are we making sure that they can say the Lord's Prayer backwards and forwards, but they do not know what Christ said about them? Oh, heaven help us. We will put up memes all day long. Strong women, may we know them, may we raise them, may we be them. But if she does not know what God has said about her, we are in a world of hurt. Take it from me. So I signed up for this Bible study. It was scheduled to start the Friday before it started. I got a call on my answering machine that said this. Melissa, also the Bible study leader was German. Melissa, I want to let you know that no one else signed up. It will just be me and you for 4 months. Every Monday at 4 o'clock, I will see you then. Goodbye. Now, what you're doing right now is exactly what he was doing in the background. He was like, ha, 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 this is hilarious. And every Monday at 4 o'clock, I would drive over and I would sit for 1.5 hours with the meanest German you have ever met. And I do not think anyone has changed my life more. She would hold my head in her lap as I cried. Because the work was hard, but I was going to do it. I had to replace what they said. I had to replace what I heard. I had to replace what I had labeled myself with all of the things that God had said about me. And one day she made me take out a sheet of paper and she made me write down, and these were the things I had to write down. Okay, you ready? He thinks of you like a little brother. You're too loud. You're too big. You're too much. People don't buy ugly. You better look like that. And the list went on and on. And she said, and on the other side of the paper, I want you to write down everything Christ had said about you in opposition to that. And do you know that there is literally something that he has said about you specifically that is in direct opposition to what the world has said about you? In direct opposition. Like literally, I'm not kidding you. The world is so dumb. They are such dum-dums. Because they say that we're worth nothing if our past is broken, if we've cheated, if we've caused infidelity. He says we are a new creation, that old things are passed away, and that you've been freed. They say that you're worth nothing. He says, I bought you with a price. It's absolutely amazing. But I'm not going to tell you the rest because my book's on sale out there. But she taught me who I was in Christ. She taught me that funny does not make me who I am. Christ makes me who I am. And it wasn't the kind, I was looking for identity, and it wasn't the kind that I would find from being Annette's daughter or Jean's daughter or David's wife or being a Nashville star. But it was the kind that would come from knowing who and whose I was. One time she asked me, what does Christ like about you, Melissa? And I said, well, he thinks I'm fun. And I was going to say funny. And she said, wrong! The answer was everything. But I started to become more, guys, than just the weirdly shaped lamp in the corner. I just started to become more than just broken pieces put back together. And it didn't come easy. Trust me on this. It didn't come easy. Learning who I was in Christ, replacing his words with their words was not easy, okay? Your feelings follow your actions. Trust me on this. Your feelings follow your actions. You have to begin to walk like it and talk like it and believe it. It's kind of like nobody wants to go to the gym, but after you do, you feel better. I mean, I don't know that personally to be the case, but I've heard that that's true. So awesome. Hashtag CrossFit. So, that leads me to why you came tonight and how I started. The year that I turned 41. The year that I turned 41, I got 2 shout-outs on Facebook. That was it. That was literally all I got. I went to the mall. I bought myself a cake from a kid that had YOLO on his name tag. So my expectations were already pretty low. Therefore, I was not surprised when it said, happy birthday, Melissa, and it had misspelled my name. I sat out a pot roast and I cooked it. It had been in my freezer for 17 months. That will not kill you. That night, my parents walked in the door. My dad actually said, "Oh, what's the cake for?" They had forgotten my birthday. They sat down at the table. My mom and dad, my kids were there. 2 kids that had come to me after 12 years of infertility, 4 miscarriages, having a son on Christmas morning and burying him 2 days later. And there sat these children brought to me. I call them my Purple Hearts because they came to me after the war. And they all began to sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And it was really a moving moment because I could see my dad, his mind was racing that he had forgotten his baby's birthday. And he was thumbing through his wallet to find money. And he found a $100 bill. Happy birthday to you. And he took it out and he slid it under my plate. Happy birthday, dear Melissa. My mom saw it. She took it right back out. She put it in her purse. Happy birthday to you. And it was time to blow out the candles. And my children began to argue. Blow out the candles, Mama. Tell us what you wish. She can't tell us what she wished for, Rocco. Yes, she can. She's a mama. She can tell us anything she wants. No, she can't, or it won't come true. And I thought, oh my gosh, they are putting so much stock into this birthday wish, right? And like as adults, we don't do that. Because the last wish I made was that my boobs would stop growing, and y'all see what happened there. So wishes don't matter and wishes don't count. But I looked at them, and I thought I didn't deserve them. And I leaned over that cake and I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's the deal. Because we're in a church, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I had not just read a book on bravery. I hadn't seen some cat poster where it's like, when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. The word brave just came to my mind. My kids were saying, what's your wish going to be? And my wish was, honestly, I just wanted to be brave. I just wanted to be courageous. I just wanted him to pass me by in a boat and say, Melissa, walk on this water with me. That's all I wanted. Like I just wanted to step over. Even when the world said, don't, you're plus size. Don't, you don't sing that great. Don't, you can't even have children. Don't, you don't fit in. I just wanted to say, just ask one more time. I'll do it. If you just ask me one more time. So I said, okay, can you guys hold on, please? And I left a burning candles and a cake, and I ran back to my room and I sat down, and I always have a journal beside my bed, and I wrote in my journal, I'm giving you 12 months. I'm not giving you 13, God. I'm not even going to give you 11, okay? I'm giving you 12 months. I will say yes to every single thing that makes my palms sweaty and my heart race. If it makes me nervous, I'm going to do it. I'm going to live for 12 months. If you ask me to walk on water, I'm going to get out of that boat. And I'm going to walk on water. And maybe this time next year, I'll be here and nothing will have changed. But I promise you, trust fall. Trust fall for 12 months. I'll see you back here. Don't you dare punk me. And I walked in the room and I blew out my candles. And my life changed forever. People always say to me, how? What was the first thing you did? Okay, you want to know? Want to know? The first thing I did was I started putting videos on the internet. And that sounds like a really shallow thing to do, but it's not when you've been told that you have a face for radio your whole life. But my husband said, you should put videos on the internet. And I was like, are you out of your mind? I am not a Kardashian. I cannot do that. Girls that look like me don't do things like that. And he said, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to be brave. I thought that was going on, but okay, whatever. And he said, maybe women will like you. Maybe you parent like them. Maybe you wear elastic waist in your pants like they do, Melissa. Maybe you look like them. Maybe you can't contour your makeup and you watch videos about it all day long, just like they do. And I just said, okay, God, I'll do it. I'll do it. The third video I ever put up is called Red Ribbon Week. And today it has 105 million views. Is it because I did anything profound? No, it's ludicrous. Do not look it up. But it's because I wasn't ashamed of the lamp anymore. I just decided I wouldn't be for 12 months. I just wouldn't be. And then people started coming out of the woodwork. I made more videos and more people watched, and I had things to say. And then churches and civic events started saying, well, come say it from the stage. And I was like, in front of people? Yeah, we like you. Maybe God didn't make any mistakes after all. Honestly, I just wanted to tell you tonight. It took me a long time to get to it, and I'm sorry, but I just wanted to tell you that you are not the mismatched thing in the corner. You're really, really valuable. And I don't care about your past, and neither does God. And I don't care who left you. I don't care what you lost, because God can redeem it, every single bit of it. He makes up for it. When Scripture says that He will restore the years that the locusts have eaten, my 2 children are proof of that. My marriage is proof of that. And I am proof of that. And I just wanted to tell you that as bad as it's been for you, I know the end of the story. And I hate to give a spoiler. I don't want to be that girl. But the end of the story is that He's good and that He's faithful. And that's what He wants to be for you and in your life. And so I would just charge you tonight to be brave. When He asks you to walk on water, just step outside the boat and see what happens. Be brave, be courageous, and eat cake, and not the crappy kind like carrot. Thank y'all so much.